Hello everybody, and in this video we are going to upgrade that old mob farm that we all know into the ultimate XP farm, bonemeal farm, sugarcane farm, gunpowder farm, and because of that you can make a rocket farm as well as a super smelter. Now obviously these are all small farms put together, but I just think that this is the best way to set yourself up for the early game. So this is the mob farm that we're all used to. This is the collection area. The mobs just fall down on top of these hoppers. If you don't know how this works, I would definitely recommend going ahead and watching someone else's video and then just coming back here and finishing it up. But quickly, the mobs spawn on these 4 platforms and they wander off into the water. And then once they're in the water, they will just float down and fall into that collection chute. I would also recommend watching this video through fully just so you get an idea of it. But the main farm is split up into 2 sides, a mob farm and a creeper farm. So the difference is between trapdoors and buttons. As a player, if you try to walk through and it has trapdoors on the bottom and top, you just can't. And that's the same for mobs, creepers, and a player like I said. But oh, hello. And if you come over here to the middle lane, you can see that there's trapdoors only on the bottom. And as a player, if you try to walk through this, you can actually fit. And that's the same with creepers. So mobs can't, creepers can, and players can. So this farm kind of just works because of the buttons on the ceiling. The buttons make it so that the mobs are too tall to spawn, but as a player you can still walk through and creepers can. So mobs can't, creepers can, and players can. To give you a better visual, this is what a platform would look like in the farm. This is on the mob side because there's no buttons. It's 2 blocks tall, so they can just spawn and wander off. And on the creeper side, you can see that there's buttons on the ceiling, and that makes it so that mobs are too tall to spawn, but creepers can. And yes, I know this is going to be asked. You can make the trapdoors and buttons out of any material, it does not matter. I do think it's important to know why it works, but now that we got the boring stuff out of the way, I just got on a new world in creative, flattened out a little area. The only place that this can't be built is above a river, but we are going to build this in the air. And to get the best spawn rates, you're going to want to go about like 150 blocks above any caves or anywhere else that mobs can spawn. Once you have made it, you can make a small platform doing 4x4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then just doing a small wall around it. This is where the mobs are going to drop, so just know that beforehand. And at this time, you can get rid of that pillar that you used to go up, and you're left with a small 2x2 box. I think it's safe to say that if you're building this, you're probably in survival. So let's make a small platform just to make working around this area a little bit easier. Now this part is kind of totally up to you. You can add whatever you would think would help build this. Some things that I do are a water bucket just to make going up and down easier. You can also put some fences around the sides just so you don't fall off. I'm just using nether brick because I think it looks good with deep slate. However, there's also going to be quite a few blocks needed to build this, so some chests are a good idea for storage. And since it's night, let's pop a bed down too. So now that we have set ourselves up, we got some storage, a bed, and now we can actually start building the project. This project does take a lot of blocks, does not have to be deep slate. I just like the way it looks. And just like the other farm, you're going to want to build a drop chute for all the mobs to fall down on. It does not have to be a specific height. You can kind of make this however tall you want. You just want it to be tall enough so that the mobs can actually drop and not get clogged. And I'm going to speed this up a little bit so that the video is not like 4 hours long. But in the end, you're going to have a 4x4 column. And then you can come up to the top on either side and go out 10 blocks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then you're going to fill that in. And you're going to do the same on the other side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And fill that side in as well. After that, it's going to just kind of look like a T. And then you can come in and make a wall just around the perimeter of what you built. This is what conjoins the two sides of the farm together. So you're going to make 2 more drop chutes on either side, and they're going to be 4 by 4 as well. They don't have to be as tall. I'm just going to go up like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Probably just like 6 blocks up. So then I'm just going to go up 1, 2, 3 more. And I'm going to do the same thing that I did on this side to the other side. Now that we have them both, I'm just going to connect them in the middle. And again, we are just going to build another wall, but only on the inside. And this time it's going to actually go up 2 blocks. And it's going to look a little awkward, but it should look like this when you're done. And you can go on either side again and go out 8 blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you're going to fill that in just like the rest. And we are going to continue that 2 block high wall around this perimeter as well, leaving a gap where that hole is in the drop chute. And you've probably caught on by now, but what we do to one side, we do to the other. And with these gaps, we're going to do the same thing. So go out 8 blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8. And let me just sleep real quick. And we're going to make this one just like the others. So let's make it 4 wide. And you're also going to add a wall around the perimeter that is 2 blocks tall. You're going to do the same to the other 3 gaps. And when you're done, it's going to kind of look like 2 crosses that are put together. And let me just give you kind of a better view of this. And by now you can kind of see both sides of the farm forming. So to separate them, go right above where that hole is in the first drop chute, and you're going to put a 2x2 area that is also 2 blocks tall. And if you made this correctly, you'll have 8 different like canals, and you can put water at the end of each of them. And you can kind of see that the water perfectly flows in the center and it's not falling down the chutes. So now that we have the water in place, we can actually start working on the structure. And so we can just connect all the crosses where there's a gap, just connect it so that it's a rectangle. I'm just going to speed this up so this video is not forever again. And when you're done, we can zoom on out and see that we have the perimeter all done. It should just be a large rectangle. And we're going to come back down and fill in all the gaps with cobblestone. It does not have to be cobblestone, that's just what I'm using. It just has to be any solid block so that the mobs can spawn on it. And each side has 4 quadrants, so just fill it in with a solid block. Could be wood, could be brick, or if you're really trying to flex, could even be diamonds. It just needs to be solid so that it gives an area for the mobs to spawn. And once the gaps are all filled in, we'll have this large platform. And I also split it down the middle just to separate both sides of the farms. And now we can move to the more tedious task of building the walls up on all the sides. This will take a lot of blocks, however, in my opinion, the grind early game to get this farm started is well worth it in the end for all the resources that it supplies you with. It's getting dark, so let me just sleep quick. And the height of this is definitely up to you. The more spawning platforms you make, the more spawns you get. One thing I do like about this farm is that it is expandable. So if you just want to do a few levels in the beginning and then build up upon that later, that's definitely a possibility. But I'm just going to skip ahead until we have all the walls to a pretty decent starting height. You can see it's just a large empty box now. And you're going to want to come on down and just split this area and make these two walls up higher just so you can separate the mob and creeper side officially. I also went ahead and changed the borders of the spawning platforms to cobblestone just to make it more uniform again. And now we can actually start working on the technical part of the farm. And like I said, I would recommend watching someone else's more in-depth video on how to build a mob farm. But to go over it quickly, I'm just going to add trapdoors to the top of all of the water canals. And this tricks the mob into thinking there is a full block there, so eventually when they wander off, they will just go in the water and then fall down. Now this isn't the most efficient farm, but I do think it's the easiest and best way to set yourself up in the early game. And on each of the 4 platforms, you're going to put a 4x4 grid of trap doors on the ground, with leaving a space in between each one. And this makes it so that spiders cannot spawn here because they don't have enough room. And once you've done it to one, you can do it to all of them. The reason we don't want spiders is because they're larger than the rest and they tend to clog up the collection system, so it's more of a hassle than it is really worth the string that you just get from that mob. Now that the first level is done, we can start expanding upwards, and we're just going to give a 2 high gap and start making another layer the same size as the one below. And one thing to know before going into this build is that it requires a lot of wood if you're using that material for trapdoors and buttons. That is definitely the most grindiest material that you'll have to collect. And now just repeat that process above the other 3 platforms. And because this is the mob side, you're just going to copy what you did on the first level up as high as you would like to go. So just put the trapdoors on the sides of each of the spawning platforms and then also on the ground of each level. And you can just go up as high as possible. However, over here on the creeper side, you can start by making a second floor just right above, giving yourself a 2 block gap as well. And as stated beforehand, the only difference is you're going to go around and place buttons above all the blocks that do not have a trapdoor on them. For me personally, this is the most annoying part just because once you're in between levels, it can be kind of hard to tell where to put the buttons, but as long as you keep looking up and down, you'll kind of get into a rhythm. Once again, I'm just going to speed this part up a little bit. Like everything else, what you do to one spawning platform, you do to the other 3 on the same level, and then you can take this up as high as you would like and make this however tall you want. Once you have built both sides up, they're going to look pretty identical. So you're going to go over to the creeper side, and you'll know this by checking for buttons on top, and you're just going to cap off the roof. So for me, I'm just going to use deep slate again just to keep it uniform, and you're going to make a roof above each of the 4 platforms, and just remember to add the buttons still because this is still a level where creepers can spawn. You are left with a cross on the creeper side, And because this is where the mobs drop, you don't need to add any buttons, but you do need to cap it off just so that it's dark enough that it allows mobs to spawn. And over on the mob side, since nothing special is needed for the roof, you can just go ahead and close up that side as well. Because we want all the mobs to spawn inside and not on top, we're gonna spawn proof it real quick. I'm using torches, but you can use anything you want. Slabs, carpets, doesn't really matter. Side note, while I place these torches down, when I say mobs, I mean witches, skeletons, and zombies. Those are the three that we are forcing to spawn on one side and creepers on the other side. The finished product is a little bit underwhelming just because it's a plain box, but you can decorate it however you'd like, kind of like you saw in the beginning of the video. But now you can go on the underside of this where these two meet, and we can break open on both sides 8 blocks. And then you're also going to place 8 blocks on the ground. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And do the same to the other side. And just like the platform previously in this video, this doesn't have to be that specific. The only part that matters is the way the water flows. So I'm just going to grab some glass here because I like looking at the mobs drop when they spawn. And these walls are just here to contain the mobs in, so they're kind of decorative. So if you just wanted to continue the deep slate or cobblestone, you could do that as well. But I'm just going to build these walls all the way to the top. And once you have done that, you can come inside and see that there's 2 channels coming down into the middle hole. And that's where all the mobs are going to go down. So we can put 4 signs down, 2 on each side. Then I'm going to grab some water and put it on both sides, just 2 buckets. And you can see it flows perfectly to the center, but it doesn't go down. It just goes right to the edge of it. And I'm also going to get rid of actually these 2 blocks up here, just so that the mobs don't have any chance of getting clogged. Now that this is done, you can kind of see that the mobs will drop down here in this chute, flow through the water, and then drop down to the main chute. I'm going to break out of here just to give you guys a better view, and yours might look different, and that's totally okay. It might be taller, shorter, you could have done the underside differently, but it's just going to be a large box with a chute going down the middle. And now we can come under and finish the collection area. Feel free to make this like as complicated as you want, but I'm just gonna go kind of simple and do some chests. And then where the mobs fall down, I'll put some hoppers and just make sure that they're pointing in the right direction. I'm also gonna add some slabs on top of the hoppers, and this is to prevent baby zombies from escaping and attacking you. And I kind of like the way the gray stained glass was, so I'm just going to add some right here so that I can see the mobs inside after they fall. Now that the largest component of the farm is complete, we can get rid of this platform we were using so that we can expand it and add everything else. And I play on the Xbox, where the simulation distance is definitely not as large as it is on the computer. So that's kind of the whole reasoning as to why I build this in all of my worlds, just because I like having the mob farm, sugarcane farm, like super smelter all right next to me, just so that they can all be going and maximize my efficiency. And as I expand this platform, I would like to add a little disclaimer that since I play on Xbox and its BEDROCK version, you can bone meal sugarcane, and that's the whole reason why I put a sugarcane farm right next to this, is because I take the bones from the skeletons of the mob farm, craft them into bone meal, and then place them in the sugarcane farm. You can see that I'm placing another railing again around the sides. I just switched it from nether brick to the copper trapdoors because I thought it looked cool, but this is another aesthetic thing that's totally up to you. And this is kind of what I'm giving myself to work with. And I'll come over here in this corner and just make a pretty simple storage system. just like the collection, you can kind of make this however complex you would like. You can add auto crafters, everything like that, sorters, anything, but just for the sake of the video, I'm gonna do it pretty simple, just a few chests, but this just kind of represents kind of anything you could do with this area. We can throw a few chests down. You're definitely gonna need more than these, but this is just kind of showing you what you can do with this area. Also some lighting, and if you really want to get into it, you can go ahead and label them all with different picture frames. You're going to be getting a lot of rotten flesh that you could trade with villagers, some bones from the skeletons and arrows, and then from the witches, glowstone, redstone, and carrots. Now that the mob part is done, we can switch to the sugarcane farm, and to do so, we're going to need a redstone clock. I will say I am awful at redstone, so if I can do this, you can definitely do it as well. It's only like 4 different things, and once you hit that lever, you get just a repeating signal that then goes into a dispenser with bone meal, and then if you place that behind sugarcane, it just makes it grow repetitively. The clock contains a torch, a lever, a repeater, and just a piece of redstone dust, so it's really just only 4 components, and I promise you can do it. And before we go any farther, I just want to say that this is not my design, and I will definitely link in the description the tutorial that I used. And while you're down there, if you could like and subscribe, that'd be really appreciated, as I'm just starting out if you would like to see more content. Back up on the platform, we're going to start the sugarcane farm by skipping a block and placing one with a lever, and then you're going to skip another one and dig 6 blocks. And I place these blocks under beforehand just to make this easier, but you can just have yours floating if you want. But I'm going to put a double chest down and a hopper going into the back of it. And this is where the sugarcane is going to go, so we can place mud down, and behind it we can break that and add some water just to hydrate the mud. And then behind that we could place a temporary block, and then a dispenser right above it, and a piston directly on top of the dispenser facing at you. And after that, you can go ahead and make the wall on the right side of it. So I'm going to place down 4 blocks and just bring that up a little bit. On the other side, you're going to make a wall as well, but it's only going to be 3 long. So just bring it up to the same height that you did to the other side. And to top the piston off, just place a block there too. This doesn't have to be copper, I'm just doing it so it matches the trapdoors. But you can place 1 more block there and there. And to make the clock that I just showed you on the ground, you can break these 2 blocks, place a redstone torch on this block, make sure it's not on the ground, but it's on that block, and then place a repeater, a torch, and then another redstone torch on the other one, as well as a piece of dust right there. And the final step is to just break this block and add some dust. You know it worked if it makes the most annoying sound, so I'm just going to shut that off. And also know that this does have to be in 1 chunk before you make it. So place sugarcane down, and to find a chunk, you can use chunk base or there's math. I can definitely make a video if you want to know how to do it the mathematical way, but I'm just going to put some bone meal in the dispenser, and you can see if I turn it on, that it grows and the piston just repetitively hits the sugarcane off. But for now, that's staying off, and to make the bone meal easier, I'm going to add a hopper that's going to go into the dispenser on the bottom or the chest on top, and I will just periodically fill this with bone meal from the bones that we collected from the mob farm right next to it. Since we're in creative, I'm going to cheat a little bit, but after I've done filling this up, we're going to cap this end off with some more copper just to make it look a little cleaner, as well as bringing the wall up just 1 more block. And in order to see inside, I think a frog light just looks cool, so I'm going to place that on top, as well as the remaining blocks just to make it look a little bit cleaner. And this is optional, but I just like to be able to see inside, so I'm just going to add some green glass just to kind of go with a copper feel. And it's as easy as that. So you can just turn the lever on and watch all the sugarcane fall down and through the mud into the hopper, and it'll just go down into the chest down here. And now we can move on to the super smelter. I'm gonna leave a little gap so that I can have room to walk behind and add bone meal in. But I'm just gonna place some more copper down. And this is a pretty simple super smelter design. You can definitely make bigger ones, but I'm just gonna place 2 chests down here with hoppers going into the back of them. And I'm gonna come up here and place 2 furnaces, as well as 2 more hoppers going into the side of them. And also 2 on top as well. To finish this off, you can put chests on top of all the hoppers. And this is a pretty simple design. You can definitely expand upon it, make multiples, or look up a different one, but this is just how I like to make mine. You will see soon why I like to put a super smelter near these other 2 farms. But the premise is the chests let you put in large quantities of items so that you don't just have to stand there and keep adding stacks. But I'll just add some kelp in here for fuel and just to show some chicken, and you can see the thing that you want to smelt on top goes into the furnace, as well as the fuel on the side, and then the output is on the very bottom. And this again is just wood, chicken, just to show you, but all the cooked chicken is just gonna end up down there. To clean this up, I'm just gonna place some copper blocks around this. And I know some people like building with glass just so that you can see inside, and if you want to do that, totally go for it. But I'm just gonna do a small time lapse showing you how I like to clean up the area. Okay, so let me just fix this quick, but I'm not going to do anything too fancy, just kind of something to cover up the background and make it look like it's more like built into the wall. But to get to the entire point as to why I think it is smart to add a super smelter next to like the mob farm and the sugarcane farm is because you're going to get so many of these bows, so many of them from the skeletons that are from the mob farm. I can't even remember the last time on my survival world where I needed to like go out for coal because I just keep on using all the bows that I have stockpiled from this. And I just think it's a really good idea to use up a item that you usually wouldn't use, and really the only other reason why you would use them is for dispensers, so this is just a good way to use them up. Let me just add a door here quick, and that's basically it. So you have the smelter, the sugarcane farm, and the mob farm, and let me just step back and get a better view, but this is mostly it. Now if I sleep real quick, and then I'll come out and switch my difficulty to hard so that you can start to see this in action. And as I fly up here, you can see that the mobs are starting to spawn. The left side is the mob side, and there's definitely going to be a lot more of them than the creeper side since there's more options of different mobs to spawn. But you can see, yep, the creeper side, it's still going to flow down, just not as many. And if you fly down here, you can see that I actually made a mistake and they die on impact. So you'll still get the drops, just not the XP, but there is a really quick fix to this. It only takes 4 signs and some water. So you're gonna go right above this viewing window and knock out these 4. And you're gonna place 4 signs on the same level so that it creates a false flooring for water to sit on. And then you're gonna take a water bucket and just place water on top of those signs, and it creates a false flooring so that the mobs will drop down and it will brace their impact so they won't die. And I'm just going to cover this back up. Now all the functioning parts are pretty much done, and usually I'll just turn on the sugarcane farm while I'm waiting for mobs to spawn, and I'll just leave that on. And you can see it's just piling up there the longer it goes. I'll also sometimes probably throw sand in the smelter and just use the bows up while I'm waiting for the mobs to spawn. They should be coming down anytime soon. Yep, there's a creeper, and now hopefully it should start filling up. You get a pretty decent spawn rate for honestly how simple this is. So if you come down here, you can just see they all fall down into this collection area, and you can just start hitting them away. Oh my god, I'm sorry, I need to turn this off. But you can start hitting them, and this is basically the main killing chamber, and you can even grab a sword for looting on it if you want even more drops. And this baby zombie is exactly why we have the glass there, and you can see this hasn't been running a while, but you still get good drops. If you remember earlier in the video, I did say this was a rocket farm, which is definitely true. You do get a lot of gunpowder and sugarcane from using it, but I'm just going to make a small storage system so that there is a place to hold all them. And I'm going to try to continue the same pattern. So I can go up on this roof and add a light, and then add some more chests, some on the bottom. I'll just do 3 layers again. And then I'll also add some glow item frames just so I can label what the chests are. I'll have one chest be rockets. I'll have one be gunpowder from the creepers, and then just one paper from the sugarcane. These are all the items that you'll get from this build, which is pretty good to set yourself up for the early game. There's a decent amount of variety. Could also build a water elevator to get up here if you don't want just like a water stream falling down. It's pretty easy. I just made this one out of copper. As I go up, you can kind of see this is a pretty ways up, so later in the game I just use an elytra. But another thing that you can add to this area just to enhance your efficiency even more is just a small enchantment area. From all the XP that you get from the mob farm, I just think it's smart, and another thing that you can do with your time while you're waiting for things to spawn, smell, or sugarcane to grow. A bed back here is also a good idea just so that you can sleep through the night. And there you have it. You can decorate yours any way you like. I just made mine grayscale of all the mobs that spawn. But this is pretty much the whole build. I know obviously these are all farms that are put together, including a smelter and an enchantment room, but I just like to make this entire build in the beginning of all of my worlds because I think it sets you up with a lot of various items that are later in the game pretty useful. And I'll come on over on one of my survival worlds just to show you actually how I use it. This is just a small village that I made. That's a track for my villager trading hall, but this is the build just in a different way. I made a spire just on the bottom, and that's the water elevator on the right side. And I'll just speed this up a little bit because it kind of takes a lot of time, but here's another water elevator. Once you're up here, I just have a bed. It's pretty simple. And I made the middle part where the two sides connect just different, but it works in the same exact way. I just like the way this looks. I also used acacia rather than copper just because I also like how it looks together. These are the drops that I haven't taken out yet, but it's pretty decent. And I have the sugarcane farm on the right side with the bone meal input also on the right hand side, just like the other build. And here's another view of the main column where the two sides connect and all the mobs drop down. This is a little storage area where I keep all the things I need for rockets. Here is the super smelter. I just covered it all in shelves just to make it look cleaner. And here is more storage that I haven't really finished, but there's just for backup. So yeah, I'll just kind of chill up here and take my axe and swing away. And that's pretty much it. I'll just give you another view of mine in my own survival world. It's not as tall as the other one just because it does take a lot of resources. But as I fly around, just thank you for watching this whole video if you're still here. This is my first video I've ever made, so it's definitely a little rough, and I'm just gonna hopefully keep improving from here. And I plan on making some more content that is Xbox console Bedrock Edition specific, just because I don't feel like there's enough of that really on YouTube yet. Thanks again for watching, and please like and subscribe down below. It's really appreciated since I'm just starting out. Bye.